government who are going to be pro-conservation, pro-environment legislators. And for the legislators who are there, we try to hold them accountable, push them on the issues, and move them forward. And you can do things like check out some of our advocacy work that we also work on with Penn Environment. And we have a great digital scorecard from last session. And that is at scorecard.conservation.pa. And that's just an example. And we're looking forward to doing more score work and even endorsing, hopefully, maybe some municipal races for the general election this year. So Jess, back to you.
Thanks so much, Katie. All right, now let's hear from Ezra Thrush, the Director of Government Affairs of Penn Future, and he's going to tell you a little bit about Penn Future.
Hey, thanks, Jess. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. Senators Comitta, Senator Kane, really great to have you here on this event. Looking forward to continue working with you in Harrisburg. As Jess had mentioned, my name is Ezra Thrush. I'm the Director of Government Affairs with Penn Future. We are a state-based environmental advocacy organization. We are the state affiliate for the National Wildlife Federation. We have offices based in downtown Harrisburg, downtown Pittsburgh, Center City of Philadelphia, up in Mount Pocono in the Northeast. And we just opened up an office in Erie at the beginning of last year. So we have a statewide presence. We do a lot of work on clean energy, clean water, clean air. We believe in air, that Pennsylvanians have the right to breathe clean air, drink pure water, and live in a healthy climate. So we're actively working on that through a variety of strategies. We have an in-house legal firm. We have a team of policy experts at an energy center and also policy experts working on air and water issues. We have a government affairs team, which is where I work. I'm the chief lobbyist for Penn Future, working very closely with legislators and executive branch folks in Harrisburg and in Washington. And we also have a team of communications professionals, making sure that we can advance clean energy and clean environmental policies at the state level and the federal level. My office is based in Harrisburg. I'm just across the street from the state capitol building. And a lot of my work is just day-to-day interaction with state legislators and policymakers in the administration. So we're really eager to see some changes this legislative session, eager to see bigger changes in Washington, but whatever momentum we can push in Harrisburg, all the better. But, I know we can do that with champions such as Senator Comitta, who is the new chair of Senate ERE Committee, and Senator Kane. I know he'll be doing some great things in Harrisburg this year. So again, thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining tonight. Senators Comitta and Kane, thank you for all your great work. And
awesome. Thank you so much, Ezra. And now I'm going to pass it over to Flora Cardoni, the field director of Penn Environment, different than Penn Future, similarly named, to tell you a little bit more about Penn Environment.
Thank you so much, Jess. Hi, everyone. So nice to see so many friendly faces. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And thank you so much, Senators Comitta and Kane, for, coming to join us for this event. I'm so excited to work with you all and CVPA and Penn Future and everyone on this call to help protect our environment and climate in Pennsylvania this session and beyond. So for those of you who are less familiar, Penn Environment is a statewide citizen-based environmental advocacy organization. We believe that everyone should have clean air to breathe, clean water to drink, beautiful and protected public lands to enjoy that are free from single-use plastics, and of course, a safe and livable climate powered by 100% renewable energy. And we work across the Commonwealth to make that vision a reality by mobilizing grassroots support across the state, helping all of you, everyday Pennsylvanians, make their voices heard to their elected officials so that we can really work together to push the politics forward and win real results for our environment and climate. So again, we're so excited to work with you all to do that this session and beyond and ensure that everyone in the Commonwealth has a healthy environment and safe climate to call home. Back to you, Jess.
Thank you so much, Flora. So folks, I hope you learned a little bit about what our 3 organizations do, and we're really excited to host this virtual opportunity to meet with your own legislators, Senator Carolyn Comitta and Senator John Kane. And so I want to pass the mic to Senator Comitta, who, if you did not know, first served as a Westchester mayor and then served us really well in the House of Representatives. All along, she's been prioritizing the environment and has been such a great champion, which is evidenced by, as Ezra mentioned, she is now the minority chair of our Environmental Resources and Energy Committee in the Senate. We'd love to hear from you, Senator Comitta, about your environmental priorities.
Thanks very much, Jess. And thank you, conservation voters. Thank you, Penn Future. Thank you, Penn Environment. And my longtime friend, and now senators together, John Kane. And John, I'm so delighted to be serving in the Senate with you, and really look forward to working together with you on many overarching environmental issues. And we're going to be hearing from John and everything that he brings to the table. John, on this Zoom, I had a chance to sort of look real quickly to see who was on the call, and I want to say hello to so many longtime friends and some new faces. John, there are some, when I was a House member, part of my district is in your Senate district. So there are East Goshen people on the call, Bernie Goldberg you're going to meet, and Bill Wegeman and some others. Nathaniel Smith from Westchester, Richard Whiteford, one of my UN NGO colleagues and longtime friend. Anyway, so good to say, and I could probably go through almost everybody else, but I'm really delighted to be with you. As Jess said, I am a lifelong environmental champion. My desire to shape and leave a healthy future for my children and now my grandchildren, Leah and Grace, 2 years and 6 months. And and to shape that 100% clean energy future that we know is the overarching goal in order for us to meet the requirements of the Pennsylvania Environmental Rights Amendment, the right for all people, all of us, to clean air, clean water, and protecting our natural resources, not only for our own enjoyment, but for our children and our grandchildren forever. And so this is what has driven me as mayor, also in the Pennsylvania House and now in the Senate. So those are my overarching goals, and to work together with the wonderful environmental organizations who are here tonight and others in Pennsylvania, the citizens and other organizations, local organizations who are on tonight, and my colleagues in the Senate. And you know, one of the things that we forget sometimes is that environmental issues are not a partisan issue. They are not a Republican issue or a Democratic issue. They are the people's issue. And graduating from Downingtown High School in 1970 and enjoying the first Earth Day as a senior in high school, what we learned is that this was a time when environmental goals were actually led by the Republican Party. And it is a time, I think, to remember that although there are some political divides now on environmental issues, what is bringing us together is young people. We are seeing young people, Republicans, independents, and Democrats, want to elect representatives and senators and all kinds of elected officials who are going to shape a healthy future, who are going to shape that clean future. So some of the specifics I want to get into. Oh, and before I forget, I saw my friend and our wonderful County Commissioner, Marian Moskowitz, on as well. And I wanted to thank Marian. She has meetings from 7:30 in the morning or earlier until goodness knows when at night. And this is an important issue for her. And we thank her for her leadership. So we have Reggie. Oh, first, I just have to say, how exciting is it that the Delaware River Basin Commission today voted unanimously, right, to ban fracking in the Delaware River Basin. Now, the moratorium's been in place for 10 years, which was good, great, but today they voted to ban. Now, you may know there is a lawsuit that has been brought forward by some residents in Wayne County. Some of our Republican colleagues have joined that lawsuit, and I and Senator Santicero and many of our Democratic colleagues have signed on as interveners in that lawsuit. So we are going to be the voices for the people who care about clean air, clean water, and a healthy environment. So quickly, a couple of other things. Reggie, I'm a strong supporter of the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. We know that Reggie is going to reduce carbon emissions. It's going to create jobs. It's going to generate revenue, all kinds of good things. So you can be sure that I am 100% behind Reggie, and that is moving forward. And I will do everything in my power as the minority chair of the Environmental Resources and Energy Committee to keep that on track. Something to remember, although there's a lot of debate about climate change and so on, polls show that 70% of Pennsylvanians want their state lawmakers to do more to address climate change, including joining Reggie, including moving to a clean energy future. And also 76%, even more, of Pennsylvanians believe that carbon dioxide should be regulated as a pollutant, which is what Reggie, the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, is all about. Community solar. We almost got that over the finish line in the budget last year. We didn't, but it's back. I say there's a bill that we're going to do everything we can to move forward. It appears to have bipartisan support. It got derailed before. We're going to get it back on track. This is something that is going to help homeowners lower energy bills, generate income for farmers who are leasing their land for solar projects, and of course is going to create a lot of new jobs. Let's see, we talked about DRBC. I want to, AEPS, the Alternative Energy Portfolio Standards. When I was in the House, I was prime co-sponsor for our 30 by 30 AEPS bill, and that did not move. It's back, and there are a number of other AEPS bills as well. The Alternative Energy Portfolio Standards will flatline in May. So there are, we're trying to make sure that we pass something before May so that we keep moving forward. Just so you know, it's not going to be it's not likely we're going to get over the finish line the ideal alternative energy portfolio standards that we would like to see, but we want to keep moving forward, inch by inch, step by step, and then leap by leap. But we want to keep things moving forward. And we believe that the momentum, the political momentum, the jobs momentum are with us to really get to that 100% zero carbon emissions by 2050. So also, plastics is something that I know we are all working to eliminate the plastic bags. Westchester, our wonderful former mayor, my friend Diane Herron, who is now the state representative, serving in the seat that I recently held, led the way to pass a plastic bag ban in Westchester. We are very proud about that. And I have seen that the restaurants are going to different kinds of containers. Plastic straws have be either you don't get a straw or you get a paper straw. Anyway, we are working really hard to move that forward. And of course, Mariner East Pipeline, and many of you live, either literally your backyards along the Mariner East Pipeline, or you live in a community near the pipeline. And you know that I have been fighting, and I will continue to fight for each of you individually, for our communities, and to make sure that there is never another pipeline that comes through our communities, number one, and that the one that is there is watched, maintained, and managed in the absolute safest way possible. Amazingly, and I know there's nothing safe about it, believe me, but it's there and we are going to be vigilant. I will tell you that one of the things I've done, I realized there was very little communication opportunity for anyone, state agencies, local residents, elected officials, to all talk together about the overarching concerns about Mariner East Pipeline and other pipelines. And so I've been convening meetings for the last 4 years. And at the first meeting 4 years ago, we learned from a PUC attorney at the time that there were 0 safety regulations for natural gas liquids pipelines. And we were all flabbergasted, and you may all be as well. So anyway, we have, it's a long story and it's still in progress, but the PUC is moving forward with a rulemaking process to add safety regulations for natural gas liquids pipelines that we hope will also impact the siting, because siting of such a dangerous pipeline, first of all, doesn't belong anywhere, but it certainly doesn't belong in the most populated communities in Pennsylvania. And so I will continue to be working with you as we move toward our clean energy future together. I am with you. I thank you so much for all of the hard work that each of you are doing. And I look forward to working together with everyone for my children, my grandchildren, and all of yours. And together, I am very, very hopeful. And as I said, I really think when we look at all of the daunting things that are going on, wonderful solutions out there from that we're learning about and that are being promoted by League of Conservation Voters, Penn Future, Penn Environment, and many of you. And I'm very hopeful. So, and also our young people, as I said, the young people are in agreement that a clean energy future is the only future they are willing to live with. And so thank you all so very, very much. And it's wonderful to be with you.
Thank you so much, Senator Comitta. I know that I speak for many of us when I say we really deeply appreciate your leadership on these issues and your continue to be vocal about it and the need for change. So thank you so much. And we really are thrilled to see you on the Environmental Resources and Energy Committee. And we look forward to working with you further.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, so those were for folks in Chester County, but if you get the chance to live in Delaware County and a portion of Chester County, you have the honor of having Senator John Kane as your newly elected senator for the 9th District. And we're really excited to work with Senator Kane on these issues. And so I'd like to hand the mic over to him so we can hear from him as well about his environmental priorities.
Thank you, Jess. And how do I follow that? Wow. So first, I'll just say, great job, Senator Carolyn Comitta, and I look forward to working with you also. Carolyn and I have known each other for a while. Also, Mariam Moskowitz, Commissioner Mariam Moskowitz is on, so I wanted to say hello personally to her also. Marilyn's a good friend. And not only that, there are two people that I could go to when I have some questions, not only to you, but also to Carolyn and to Carolyn. Carolyn and Marion, sorry about that. Just to let you know, I don't think there's anybody greener here than me, because I pretty much know absolutely nothing about a lot of the issues. Running for my race was different because of the fact that we had the Mariner East pipeline. Many of you, let me explain to you why I ran for office a little bit to kind of give you my background, and you'll understand why I ran for office and the reasons why I want to be in Harrisburg fighting on a lot of issues and their life experience issues. See, I didn't further my education after high school by attending college. I knew I never wanted to be a student. In fact, I'm lucky I got through high school. See, I wanted to be a plumber since I was at an early age. I tried to get into VOTech when I went to high school. I wasn't accepted. After high school, I was approached by my uncle and asked would I, still want to be a plumber, which I did. So I applied for the apprenticeship program with Plumbers Local 690 in the city of Philadelphia. And I was accepted in 1979, right out of high school. I went through the apprenticeship, became a journeyman, became a master plumber. I got involved in my union. I was put on the political action committee in 1991, to the finance committee, to the examining board. Then I became a union organizer. And then in 2003, a business agent. And then in 2007, with a strong economy, I was appointed as the business manager of the largest plumbers union in the state of Pennsylvania. Let me just back up a little bit. See, the reason why I wanted to be a plumber was because my grandfather was a plumber who was killed in a ditch in 1958, leaving my grandmother and 8 kids fatherless, and he was a member of my union. 1983, I had an issue with drugs and alcohol. I found recovery at the age of 22. I've been in recovery for 37 straight years now. I met my beautiful wife in 1987. We married in 1989. We have 4 great kids, 3 daughters and a son. I got involved in sports in my area. I raised them in Ridley Township. As I got more involved, they got a little bit older in the union. I got more involved in the union. They got a little bit older. I couldn't coach them in sports anymore. They were better than I was. So when I took over the local, we had full employment. Now let's talk close to 2,000 plumbers working at one time. We had 3 soccer stadiums going. The economy was booming. Within 4 months in 2008, I went from having full employment to 450 of my members out of work. After that, they ran out of unemployment within a year and a half. I had 12 of my members complete suicide. See, when I took on this job, never in a million years did I ever expect that I was going to have to deal with issues like this. The opioid epidemic. Since 2007, when I took over to December 31st of 2020, I had over 24 members overdose and die, 3 within 3 months before I left office. These are the issues that I was dealing with. I ended up in 2014, I was approached and asked would I consider running for Senate in the 26th senatorial district when I lived in Delaware County. And I did. We came up, we were unsuccessful. I was going against the Republican machine. We were like the bad news Bears going against the Yankees, but we only lost by 4 points. I ended up last year, well, right after that election, that was in November of 2014, May the 5th, Cinco de Mayo, 2015, diagnosed with cancer. So when you're told you have cancer, the first thing that goes through your mind is that you're going to die. I got 3 beautiful daughters. I never thought I was going to be able to see the day that I was going to walk them down the aisle. Well, I'm happy to say last year I walked my oldest daughter, Samantha, down the aisle. Cinco de Mayo this year, 2020 was my 5 years cancer-free. I moved out to Birmingham Township in Chester County. When I moved out here, I thought Senator Andy Dinniman was my senator here. I knew Carolyn was my state rep, but I didn't know who my senator was. I got a phone call, Senator Tom Killian. Would you consider another run at this? I talked to my wife. She allowed me to do it. I went to my membership and told them that if I win this race here, I would retire, which I did. I turned the reins over to George Pegram. So if you want to know why did I run, it's because of the life experience that I'm bringing to Harrisburg that people forget about people like me. I speak on a lot of issues. We could talk about gun violence. We could talk about the opioid epidemic. We could talk about green. I'm a plumber. I'm a master plumber. The plumber's motto is, we protect the health of the nation. Clean water is so essential. Now, there's issues that I don't know about, and that's the reason why I'm green, and I'm going to have to go to you, and I'm going to have to find out some of the things. You know, we could talk a lot about the Mariner East pipeline. We could talk about Reggie. And I'm the type of person, I don't have a problem asking, because if you do it in my business, if you think you know how to do something and they find out you don't, you're in trouble. When I saw Reggie, the very first thing I did was I started to talk to some legislators. And then I was talking to people over in New Jersey because they apparently passed Reggie over there. And not only did they pass Reggie over there, they had the backing of the labor movement, which I'm part of. I'm working with people over in Jersey to find out about how did they get this? How did they get it passed? How did they work across the aisle to get this passed? That's something that I can bring to the table, and I want to bring to the table because we're talking about jobs. We know we're going clean energy. The labor movement knows this. They're not just sitting there saying that we're going to fight clean energy. They're not going to do that. Carbon capture, nuclear power. There was nothing cleaner than nuclear power. And it generated, the Limerick nuclear power plant, from my understanding, generated enough power for over 2 million homes. That's a lot of power. And it was clean. I'm learning as I go along. In the plumbing industry, we went from having 3-gallon flushes to one. Now you can do a urinal, a pint. You can have a flush it with a pint of water. And they have waterless urinals now. We'll see what ends up happening with that later on as time goes by, whether sewer lines are going to end up having problem moving sewage down through the sewer system. But as of right now, it seems to be working fine. The other thing that I was always involved in with our local was gray water systems. You have a laundry tub, you reuse the water to flush the toilet. You got green roofs. You end up, rainwater collecting, for sprinkler systems for your lawns, things like that. That's what we worked on. There's other things that I don't know a lot about, and I'm sure I'm going to learn about, and I'm sure you're going to hold my feet to the fire, and that's okay. It's about jobs for me. It's always about jobs. So that's pretty much my story in a nutshell. Thank you.
Absolutely, Senator. Listen, we really appreciate you being so vulnerable and sharing that story with us. And we are lucky to, a lot of folks are pointing out in the chat, we're really lucky to have someone like you with such experience leading us here for the 19th Senate District. And Senator, don't worry. We all got your back on the environment. Like, you've got a whole Zoom room of people to depend on when it comes to this. So
I know with the Mariner East pipeline, that was a tough one for me because my industry, now I'm a plumber, but you have the steam fitters. My international is the plumbers, steam fitters, sprinkler fitters. Steam fitters, pipe fitters are the same thing. They ended up they performed that work. And they were upset with me because I was taking a stand against, Energy Transfers and their subcontractors, that I was going to hold them accountable. That's it. That's what I did with my own contractors. If you're doing something that's not to standards, you need to be held accountable. And that's where I'm at with this here. Am I going to be able to shut it down? No. I was just out of the facility in Middletown. I'm sorry. I don't have any saliva glands, so you always see me drinking water, and I try to drink from either a cup. I will try not to use a plastic bottle, but the Energy Transfers, I had a meeting with a couple of people at the Akabuchi building, or condominiums in Middletown. There was an issue with the barrier wall and the construction starting at 7 a.m. with children getting on the buses early in the morning in the dark. Job doesn't end till 9 o'clock at night. Now, I work construction. I don't recall ever working from 7 a.m. in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. And you have a barrier wall, probably 25 feet, maybe even closer than that from somebody's home. And you got backhoes, you got cranes, you got dump trucks, you got all sorts of noise. So I went out there to see it for myself, and I sent a letter to Energy Transfers. Now I have a meeting with somebody from Energy Transfers to discuss this. Now, I wanted to see if there any, just give me something. You don't have to work till 9 o'clock at night. Show me that maybe you could stop at 5:30, 6:30, maybe 7. Why do you have to work till 9 o'clock? That's my question. But unfortunately, Middletown Township, you are allowed to begin work at 7 a.m. and must cease work at 9. Well, if you're anything like me, early is on time is late. I never got to the job late, so I always got there half an hour early. Most of these men are driving up, or women, maybe driving up with big diesel trucks, waking people up at 6:30 in the morning, 9 o'clock at night. They're probably sitting around after a hard day's work, having a beer or two, running their engines. I have an issue with it. So I'm hoping that I could get that resolved one way or another. But
Well,
just,
we're
thank
happy
you.
to hear that, Senator. And I think, while we're on the topic, we certainly did get a lot of submitted questions around the pipeline. And so I just want to lift up some of the concerns that have been communicated to us. So I hear you that the hours and the noise are certainly troublesome for residents, but more troublesome, in my opinion, is the water contamination that has occurred, the lack of accountability around the construction, the fact that this is being deemed a public utility and it's not contributing to our public is not utilizing this at all. In fact, it's, as you likely know, is being transported so that it can be exported and used to make plastics, which we environmentalists know we don't need more of on this planet, right? And so we had a lot of personal stories shared by residents in your districts that have been impacted by this construction, who've had to abandon their home, or they've been drinking bottled water for years now because their wells have been affected. And so we've got a lot of questions over, and both of you have spoken to it a little bit, but where is the current pipeline legislation stand? I saw a question from Jenny, an active pipeline activist, asking if once those are passed, will it be retroactive? Will the pipeline legislation that you're hoping to pass, will it affect Mariner East too? And so I just want to open it up. Senator Comitta, could you speak to this a little bit?
Yeah, well, the natural gas liquids pipeline safety regs, which, as I said, this entire rulemaking process started almost 4 years ago now. And it was moving along, and then the pandemic came along. And I speak regularly with the governor's office. I speak regularly with PUC to find out what's going on, what's the status, and so on. And basically, nothing has moved forward during the pandemic. So we've sort of lost a year there, and that's understandable, and it is what it is. But in terms of will it be retroactive, the safety regs will probably not be retroactive for the Mariner, because by the time the safety regs are passed, the Mariner construction should be complete. But what would apply is any of the safety regs that has anything to do with operation, maintenance, and that kind of thing. The construction piece of it, is over, maybe over at that point. But moving forward, the hope and the plan would be that the regulations that would be required will keep the operation and the maintenance of the Mariner and every other natural gas liquids pipeline with greater oversight, with greater eyes on from DEP, PUC, and so on. And as I said, I think it also is important considering potential additional pipelines. I mean, at this point, we're seeing, the jobs numbers are down, in the counties where we have the fracking wells. It was supposed to be a big economic boom. That is turning out to be more of a bust. The future of energy we knew was changing. We know things are going toward clean energy. So I don't know what the demand will be for future natural gas liquids pipelines. We hope the demand is zero or goes backwards. I don't know, we'll see, but we need to have the safety regs in place. So, that's, but also any in the event that there is any future siting issue that we have to contend with, we need to know that there is no siting authority also for natural gas liquids pipelines. And Chairwoman Brown Dutale of the PUC said at a hearing 2 years ago that someone needs to have authority for siting natural gas liquids pipelines. And could be the PUC, it could be DEP, it could be somebody. But right now there is no siting authority. So I have a bill that is an eminent domain bill that would essentially add natural gas liquids pipelines to the existing statute that regulates the siting of high voltage power lines. So you put a high voltage pipeline, you need to have a hearing and approval for where you put it, which is a common sense thing, which, as you said, Jess, the whole project, the whole Mariner East, the whole public utility, none of it is common sense. Unfortunately, here's where we are, and we have to, we have to make sure it never happens again. And we have to make sure that what we have today is monitored and managed as absolutely safely as possible, with all due respect, realizing this is not a safe situation.
Sure.
I understand.
Thank you for your comments on that. And for folks who, Senator Kane, I hope you get the chance to hear from some of the residents that had written into me. I'll share their comments with you both. We have a ton of questions in the docket, and I know that Senator Kane has to leave at 6:55. So, Senator, I'm coming for you with some questions. So you mentioned that, your labor background and your union background, which I think is really helpful. And a lot of folks submitted questions about what are some initiatives that we can bring about where environmentalists and organized labor can work together, right? And in your experience as a labor leader, how can you help us to do this, perhaps?
Well, when I first got involved, I think with some of the politics that was going on out in Delaware County, there was Meredith. I can't think of Meredith's last name. I'll figure it out.
Meredith Haig, she's right on the
There it is.
here.
Meredith going, all right. Well, Meredith ended up, she came to me and we were talking, and the labor movement really was fighting tooth and nail over anything to do with going green. It's, they don't want to shut down their pipelines. They don't want to shut down Marcus Hook. They don't want to shut down Limerick Nuclear Power Plant. So it was more or less, we don't even want to talk. Me, I don't perform any of the work at any of those facilities. Mine's strictly commercial plumbing, schools, pharmaceuticals, that type of work there. So I didn't do any of the industrial type of work. So Meredith did reach out to me, and it was a good idea. We sat down, the two of us, just to have a first conversation. And after talking with Meredith, we didn't want to bring in, 5 people. You bring in an environmentalist with 5 labor guys, it's just going to be a bloodbath at that point. And I thought it was something that was working out well. Unfortunately, COVID hit and, discussions has stopped. But I got to say one thing, labor gets it that it's going green. And it's like anything else. If you're going to sit back and watch, you're going to lose out on a lot of work. So they come to realize that. And when I was reaching out with labor on a couple of issues, especially with the Mariner East pipeline during my campaign, I was getting beat up by labor because of it. And they understand now that I think they want to be a part of it. How do we go about that? I think is needing to bring people together. I want to say back in the day, I was having an issue in the city of Philadelphia with plastic pipe being installed in buildings. And I don't know who it was, but it might have been with Leanne Kruger Brannicky. She might have gotten me involved with somebody from Penn Environment to talk about plastic pipe. Do they support it or they don't support it? Because we know cast iron pipe is recyclables. Why wouldn't you want it? So we were going down that road, and we felt as though that the plastic pipe burning in a building is hazardous. We saw it happen to a casino out in Las Vegas where a lot of people died. And it wasn't because they died of a fire. They died because of smoke inhalation, because of the burning of plastic. It just wasn't the pipe, but it was also rugs and other things that were burning. But they supported me on that issue. And they brought some good things to point, was the fact that plastic pipe at the time wasn't recyclable. And I still don't know if it's recyclable. But I think getting us together to sit down in a room and bringing the right people together to talk about how we go about this. That's why I think it's so important to talk to the guys over in Jersey about the Reggie bill. How did you do that? How did you bring everybody in without beating each other up? Because that's the last thing I want to see is people yelling and screaming. You don't get nothing.
We don't want to see that either, Senator. And we do want to talk to you about Reggie, but I see the time we've got left. I've got a couple more questions. Senator Comitta, I promise I'm coming back for you. So really quickly, Senator Kane, Chester is one of the worst cases of environmental racism due to the many polluters located in the city, including the nation's largest trash incinerator.
Yep.
And so we received a question from the group Chester Residents Concerned for Quality Living, Circle. They're wondering, how do financial distressed communities like Chester City, overburdened by pollution, transition to cleaner industries and green jobs? And how can the state integrate comprehensive legislation that protects and provides tangible benefits to environmental justice communities like Chester?
No, that's a great question. And they give me notes and everything like that. I was looking on here, and it does have the incinerator there. And it's a shame because I always felt as though that the city of Chester has been underserved in the 9th Senatorial District. You go through it, it's a ghost town. An absolute ghost town. I ended up, when I was running for office, I made it a point that we were going to be there. I was going to put a district office there, which we have a district office. It hasn't been opened up yet. We still got some construction. It's going to be a 504 Avenue of the States. I want to see, what I would love to see is the city of Chester it's open. You got so much that could be done there. We could go green, we could go solar. I don't see why we don't. You have so many abandoned homes there. You have all that property right there on the river. what a beautiful place. Why can't it be the state's most environmentally friendly city? Why not? The city of Chester, come out of nowhere. You know, I believe it's been underserved. I want to serve it. I want to try to make it. In my business, it's always been, I'm only going to keep this seat warm. All I want to do is try to make it a little bit better than the way I found it. And if I could do that, I consider myself successful.
Wonderful. Thank you, Senator. All right, and this is a question for both of you that a lot of folks have asked various iterations of, but specifically Todd from Legacy Land and Water Partners said it best with what steps can be taken, since none of us are blind to the polarization in Harrisburg, to the fact that the environment, for the unfortunate fact, has become a partisan issue when all of us breathe air, all of us need water, right? And so what steps can be taken to create a bipartisan agreement on both sides of the aisle to support things like funding for environmental and conservation funds, which we know benefit all state residents, rural, suburban, urban. And so I want to pass it to Senator Comitta, and then Senator Kane, we'd love to hear your thoughts as well.
Mhm. Well, this is the goal, right? This is what we're all trying to do, all of the environmentalists, to find the shared goal, the common ground, and what bills we can move forward together. So I have been talking with labor and environmentalists and some in the business community about what, as Senator Kane said, there needs to be some conversations that haven't been had. And he's starting to have conversations with labor and the people in about Reggie in New Jersey. But what we're seeing is that multinational corporations are going green. They have their 100% clean energy future. They've got the Blackwater Financials now has a green investment portfolio. So what we're seeing is honestly, I think what's going to happen is that the international corporations, the business world, is making decisions for their bottom line based on what their shareholders are requiring and their customers and their employees, right? Google and so on, the employees are saying, hey, we need to go green. So Google starts going green. Microsoft, all of them. So I think what will happen is that Democrats and Republicans, I think the Democrats are going like, yes, we've been waiting for you to do this. And and Republicans and independents who are also environmental champions, because we have environmental champions across the board in politics. But the Republicans, on balance, have been resistant. But I think what we're going to see is that the international business community and the national and the state business community, including US Chamber of Commerce, right? They are setting the stage for a political conversation. And I think for perhaps a coming together of Democrats and Republicans in Harrisburg and in DC and in other states who were not willing to talk about a clean energy future until suddenly it's already happening. As Senator Kane said, the labor unions know what's coming. They've got their eyes open. They see what's happening. So honestly, I think the stage is being set outside of our Capitol by the business world. And so when we convene these conversations that Senator Kane was talking about, and that I also have been convening for years and will continue to convene for years, the people coming to the table have a new set of awareness, information, and pressure, quite frankly, from the business community. The world is changing, and I believe it will make it possible for bills that, because they were green, you're a tree hugger. Well, actually, the US Chamber of Commerce supports this. These major, all the fossil fuel industries are all energy transfer. What did they now have a solar division or something, right? I mean, we wish they would have started with that and forgot. But anyway, so everyone is, they're diversifying their green portfolio because it's good for their bottom line. And we're happy it's good for their bottom line because we know it's good for the future of our planet.
Thanks, Senator Comitta. And Senator Kane, I know you've got another event to go to. I'm sure you've got a packed schedule, but did you want to say something to bipartisan support to move forward?
Yeah, thank you, Jess. Yeah, I'm hoping it only takes me a minute to get on that line. So I'll give you a couple of minutes here. So we're in the minority. I'm a freshman. I am going to get absolutely nothing. So I know that's where I'm at right now, but I do have something that I do bring to the table, and it's called negotiating skills. See, I come from labor and management. If management's satisfied with a contract, they're going to go out and they're going to bid work, and they're going to put labor, they're putting plumbers to work. That's all I cared about, was working with them, making them satisfied. You get accused from time to time from the membership, oh, he's a company business manager, or vice versa. You got the contractors upset with me because I was more for the men and not the company. So you hear from both sides. You can't make everybody satisfied. I have a good relationship with a lot of the Democrats in the House and also on the Senate. I reached out to Representative Jared Solomon today, and we had a good talk because he's a smart man. And I was talking to him. He says, you need to go out Western Pennsylvania and start talking, or North, and start talking to some of the Republicans and break bread with them. That's how it starts. And you know what? You'll find common ground. That's all. We could be different on certain things, but there's always going to be some sort of common ground. When you find the common ground, then you work on it and you build on that. That's what I expect to do. I know this year I'm probably just learning how to find the bathrooms in the place, but hey, eventually I find out, I'll be in pretty good shape. So, Jess, I appreciate you having me. I'm sorry I can't be on much longer, but I do have another event at 7 o'clock. So thank you so much.
Not a worry, Senator. We really appreciate you being here. I know I speak for everyone here when I say that. And we'll be sure, there's a lot more questions. Senator Comitta, if you don't mind, would you be able to answer a couple of more before we close out for the night? And I'll make sure to provide Senator Kane's office's contact information in the follow-up email so that you can easily get in touch and voice concerns. Of course, I'll share Senator Comitta's as well. But thank you, Senator Kane, for joining us tonight.
Thank you. And I always have an open door policy, so you're more than welcome to stop in anytime.
Thank you so much, Senator.
Take care.
See you soon, Senator Kane.
Bye-bye. How do I get out of here?
Should be a red button in your
the left of the bathrooms.
and I'm the minority leader on technology and communication, right? I can't even get out. I'll see you. Take care.
See you, Senator.
Bye-bye.
Senator Comitta.
Right.
So as you can imagine, we received a lot of questions about RGGI. For those that haven't heard, it's the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, which proposes to be a cap and invest program for Pennsylvania. Essentially, would set a carbon limit for an industry that would then decline over time and provide annual allowances to carbon polluters, putting a price on carbon pollution. And so, Senator, two kind of questions. One, can we count on you to help Pennsylvania join RGGI and to defend against the anti-RGGI attacks? And then also, I heard that you also might have a cap and invest bill, and I was wondering if you could say a little bit about that as well.
Well, yes, I'm going to do everything I can to keep RGGI on track. I have reached out to talk with the majority chair in the ERE, Senator Yaw, to, again, as we've been saying, see if we can find that common ground. And, so we have a good working relationship going. I do know that the IRCC came out with its report, and they have some questions and they would like to delay it a little bit, but the governor and DEP would like to see Reggie stay on track, move forward, and be implemented starting January 1st, and so would we. So I will be working in all the different channels that I can to keep moving that forward. And please, each of you, Penn Environment, conservation voters, Penn Future, we work together on many, many things. So we are going to put our heads together, and I'm going to do whatever you think is going to be helpful, and also working very closely with the DEP and the governor's office as well. So, so we will do that. And sorry, what was the other question? About Reggie?
Yeah, I had seen a note here from Katie that there might be a cap and invest bill that you had been working on with Senator Costa
yes.
while you were in the House, perhaps. And I just didn't know if you had any updates there.
Well, that was, that bill has not been reintroduced yet this year in the House or the Senate. And it was a spending bill for Reggie revenue.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to mention spending for Reggie.
Yeah. So as it is, the spending without any legislation to direct the revenue generated by Reggie, the revenue needs to be spent on clean water projects. Am I correct about that? All of my environmental experts, pretty much. I mean, in a broad, it's sort of a general sense.
Clean air.
There's
But
a lot of
things
things.
like, there's a lot of things, but it's under that. In other words, things like a rate reduction, you can't do without legislation. Things like environmental justice initiatives, you can't do without legislation. So the cap and invest spending, the Reggie spending bill would broaden the ways that the Reggie revenue could be spent. So that has not been reintroduced yet, which doesn't mean that it won't be reintroduced, but there are, there's timing on certain things. And so I am very patient and respectful of what seems to be the best timing and path forward on these things. So that bill that I had in the House and Senator Costa had in the Senate, at the time, for the big picture, we were asked to just hold off on introducing that bill. And so it's still there, but it has not been reintroduced yet. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. And yeah, but it's in the works.
Perfect. Yeah, and we are really excited to work with you, Senator Kane, and others to ensure that not only do we get Reggie across the finish line, but we make sure that we spend that revenue in the areas we know need to be prioritized, especially marginalized communities who have faced the brunt of fossil fuel pollution.
Absolutely. There was this afternoon, and Ezra for Penn Future was on the People's Budget hearing this afternoon, policy hearing, and which was wonderful. So interesting, and of course Ezra did a great job. One of the speakers talked about, he said, racial justice and economic justice are environmental justice, and environmental justice is racial. They are all interconnected. So, and also we didn't talk about the just transition of jobs. Senator Muth and Representative Innamorato have been working for about a year on a bill that would create the Office of Just Transition that would help as we do transition to a clean energy future. And at this point, it's very clear. It's not only, if that happens, it's already happening. And most dramatically, let's say in the coal industry, but people need jobs. People need a transition that includes training for not only jobs in the energy industry, but perhaps jobs in other industries. So anyway, I really, I give a big shout out to Senator Muth and Representative Innamorato, and I'm very interested in helping them as they help support them as they roll out this Office of Just Transition. But, you know, that is it is all about jobs. I mean, we know it's all about a healthy future, keeping people healthy, and shaping that clean energy future. But the concern has been, oh, people are going to lose jobs. No, people are there. There are lots and lots of jobs that are the hundreds of thousands of jobs that will be created, and some that will be that we'll see diminish, or in some of the, for example, in the coal industry, some of those jobs will be lost. So what are new areas of labor and the world of work? Will these people find good family sustaining jobs? And that's part of the economic justice of this transition to a clean energy future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Senator. All right, 2 quick questions, and then we're going to let everyone get back to their Thursday evenings. So speaking of jobs, something that definitely helps folks get to and from their jobs is our wonderful public transit system, SEPTA, here in Southeastern PA. And we know as environmentalists that public transit is a critical element of reducing pollution that drives climate change. And so we're wondering, Senator, how can Pennsylvania's legislators support SEPTA with the funding that it so desperately needs so that it can continue getting people to school and to work and developing sustainable solutions that will support jobs?
What a very important question, and what a hugely challenging question. We were just talking about restoration of rail service in from the borough of Westchester to Wawa, and then of course on to Philadelphia last night. And we had someone from SEPTA on that call, and she was talking about over $4 billion worth of projects to keep up the public transit system, SEPTA's public transit system. And how do we get it? Is well, it's like any other project that needs to be, funds need to be negotiated for. I think that there will be, I don't know how that's going to be done, but I will tell you that the conversation about why public transportation in southeastern Pennsylvania is important to the rest of Pennsylvania is as important as the conversation about why is broadband in southwestern Pennsylvania and the other parts of Pennsylvania important to us in southeastern Pennsylvania. For the same reason, the answer, when Pennsylvanians benefit in every sector, rural or city in Pennsylvania, we lift up the lives of all Pennsylvanians. So that is a conversation of interconnectedness that that we will continue, and that I think will hopefully help fund at least the minimum of what SEPTA needs. I would love to see the maximum, because it is just, yes, but that's coming, and you know, and also the broadband.
Sure, yeah, important question. I know my colleague in Central PA, Katie Bloom, appreciates that one. So last question, Senator, and I will admit, Nick and Fran and Michelle and Chad, I know we've got tons of questions, and I'm going to actually personally connect you with the senators' offices to make sure that your questions get answered, as there were so many important ones. But while we still have you, Senator, for the folks still on the call here with us, what is the best thing folks can do to help support our pro-environment legislation here in PA? How can they help us continue to push to protect our environment, in your opinion?
Vote for environmental champions. And run for office as an environmental champion.
Yes, we love that, especially here at Conservation Voters of PA. If you're even thinking about running for office, let us know. We'd be happy to chat with you. Thank you, Senator. We do agree wholeheartedly with that one. All right, folks, I'm going to drop some great resources in the chat. We're going to wrap it up here. I'm so grateful that you decided to spend your Thursday evenings with us and Senator Carolyn Comitta and Senator John Kane. You know, Flora and I, we always have more ways for you to get involved. And so we're going to drop some helpful links in the chat on our end. Speaking of environmental champions, if you want to find out if your legislators, you know, your senator's an environmental champion. If you want to find out if your representatives are, we've got a scorecard that I'm going to drop the link for. If you want to join us at Penn Future when we meet with your legislators, join our ACE team, Advocates for Conservation and the Environment. You'll be the first that we call when we have a meeting with your legislator. And I'm also going to drop links of some great actions that you can take, petitions you can sign, letters you can send. I'm going to pass it to Flora to see what actions Penn Environment has for us, and Flora will close us out for the evening.
Thanks so much, Jess. Yeah, so if you're like me, hearing especially all the great things that Senator Comitta laid out in the beginning that we'll be fighting for this session, there's certainly a lot of work to do to make sure we can protect our environment and climate in Pennsylvania. So we need you all to get involved and make your voices heard. And there's a couple easy ways that I would love for you to do it. Jess is putting some stuff in the chat. One thing you can do is join Penn Environment's mobile action network by texting the words clean energy to 21333. This is our cool rapid response texting program when we can let you know when key environmental votes are getting fast tracked in Harrisburg or DC, or when there's environmental events coming up, things you need to make your voices heard to your legislators about. So it's a great way to stay up to date on what's going on. Again, you can text the words clean energy to 21333 in your phone. Thank you, Commissioner Moskowitz, for doing it right now. But it's a great way to stay up to date. And if you reply with your name and address, we'll connect you to your correct legislator, and you'll get texted our petition for 100% clean energy, which we hope you'll sign. And if you're already subscribed, you can certainly also sign our petition directly at this bit.ly link that I'll put in the chat. But certainly, joining the Mobile Action Network is the best way to stay up to date. And then if you're interested in getting more involved as a volunteer, we always are looking for more folks get involved in our activism and advocacy. So you can certainly sign up to do that as well. And then finally, there are two events I wanted to quickly alert you to. One, it already started, but right now, New Voices Pittsburgh and State Representative Summer Lee are hosting an event, Black Women, Green Future, Environmental Justice in the New Political Landscape. That's happening right now online. We'd certainly love for you to RSVP to that. Jess just dropped it in the chat. And then next Thursday, our conservation team is hosting a webinar about microplastics. We sampled 50 waterways throughout the state of Pennsylvania and tested them for microplastics. And spoiler alert, there's a lot of plastic in our water. And so we'd love for you to join us to learn more about that problem. And how you can get involved. Again, I know I'm talking fast, but all of that's in the chat. If there's one thing you do, text clean energy to 21333. Thank you all so much again for joining us tonight. Thank you, Senator Comitta and all your staff. Of course, CVPA, Penn Future, and all of you who attended. We are so excited to work all together to make our voices heard for environmental protection and climate action in Pennsylvania. So thank you again for taking time out of your week to join us tonight, and we look forward to seeing you at the next event.
Thank you. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Take care.
Take care.
Everyone.
Thank you for joining us.
We're going to email you with all the links we just dropped, but text the number that Flora mentioned, and we'll be be sure to follow up with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night.
Thanks, everyone. We really appreciate all your work.
And yours.